Hello everyone and welcome back to the Scots on the Run podcast, where we take a behind-the-scenes look at what's happening in the Gordon College cross-country and track and field programs. In this episode, we're recapping the Pop Crowell Invitational with our assistant distance coach, Cordon Louco, and now three-time champion of the Pop Crowell Invitational on the women's side, Rachel Brennan. But first, Coach Miela, how's it going?
It's good. It's going really good. Excited about just the opportunity to run, We had to move it back. It's not as simple as pivoting on a soccer game where you only have two teams. And, we have to communicate with 9, 10, 11 different teams. So based off the information we had on Thursday, we pretty much had to make a call that if we wanted to run, we probably would have had to, we had to bump it back to Sunday just to give everybody a chance to run. And turned out the storm didn't hit us quite as hard as we thought, but nonetheless, it still ended up being a beautiful day and maybe a little hot for distance running, but I still think most people would have preferred to run in what we had on Sunday than what we got on Saturday. So,
No, I certainly would have if
Yeah.
I was still on the team.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess we'll throw it to Cordon first, give you a chance to introduce yourself. This is your first year with the team here. How's it been?
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me. And it's been a nice, smooth process, which is not always the case when you come into a new program with a different, unique vision of themselves. So I've really enjoyed that and just trying to fit in where I can and just do my due diligence and enjoy the process where we are.
So we're about a month into the season now. What goals do you have as we look forward to getting into kind of the heart of the season here? We've run a couple of meets now. What are your expectations moving forward for this team?
Expectations doesn't change. We show up every day, we do what we can and move forward. Personal goals is to just help out the athletes as much as I can with my knowledge that I have from my experiences, and just keep helping them grow as humans and utilizing their successes and failures. Even though I wouldn't say we've had any failures, they're always great learning opportunities to make themselves better. So moving forward, I expect us to get a lot fitter. We are in a very basic baseline shape right now, which is really exciting. Having Rachel sit next to me, she can tell you probably one of the words that has come out of my mouth the most to her and most of the team is patience. And we really haven't worked too hard yet. And when we start working hard here coming up, I'll be just very excited to see where they can get to with that hard work paying off soon.
Well, speaking of hard work paying off, let's talk to Rachel Brennan, the winner of the Pop Crowell Invitational for the third year in a row, a time of 22:26. I believe that's a new school record in the 6K. Is that right?
Probably. I mean, you probably had the record before that. I mean, I just assume she's got all of them at this point.
And I pulled up the records from the previous Pop Crawls, which you won every year. I guess your freshman year was my senior year, and we didn't run it that year because of the pandemic. But in 2021, you won the race with a 23:18. Last year, you won the race with a 22:39, and now down to a 22:26. So you continue to get faster every year here. Take us through your race, and if transitioning from Saturday to Sunday adjusted how you prepare for that at all. What was going through your mind as you were running on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm really thankful it got moved to Sunday because we had a good lift on Wednesday, and my body doesn't really handle that too well. So my hamstrings were quite tight Saturday morning, so I'm really glad it moved to Sunday and giving me a little bit more time to recover. Yeah, I don't really mind having a couple easy days before a race, so the 3 in a row is pretty good because I felt rather fresh on Sunday. And it was also a little bit of a different week for me because I wasn't as anxious for the race this week. I didn't really think about it until the day of the race, which was kind of nice and made it a little bit more enjoyable because I wasn't so worried all week and I could just go and have more fun and a little bit more energy than I usually have. But I don't know, I think my race strategy wasn't amazing this week because I started out a little bit hot and then got a little bit slower the rest of it. But I was glad I was able to hang in there because after the first mile, I was a little out of breath, and that's not really something I usually feel at the start of the race, so I'm glad I was able to figure it out during it and keep it together to get the win, I guess.
I just think that's amazing. You won the meet by 31 seconds, and you're thinking about what you could have done better to get your time down even a few more seconds after that. So, well, Coach, what else stood out to you from the meet on Sunday?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, Rachel's a great example of it. Actually, I think that's funny because I hadn't heard anybody say that they preferred running on Sunday, so it was nice to hear you say that, Rach. But, I was really proud of just how the team pivoted, and, it's not easy going into a week, especially after, we did our workout on Wednesday, and as Rachel was talking about, we made the call on Thursday. And so that can create anxiety. That can be a huge mental strain on, you're thinking about how your week's going to go. And, I know that people had plans on Sunday that they had to move around. And, it can create just an additional obstacle. But I think I was really proud of how our team seemed to just go on, business as usual. And so I was proud of that aspect of it. And then, just like I said, seeing Rach break through and PR, and a couple other girls PR, and then even the guys. I think the guys, I was really proud of how they raced as a team. I was talking to Phil Kay afterwards, and he was just talking about how as the season goes along, he's excited to see how those guys kind of learn to, obviously they train together every day, but now the more they can learn how to race together and how they can kind of capitalize on that, I think that'll be exciting to see as as coaches, as spectators, to see as this team grows and develops. So.
Well, that's a nice transition into the men's race, I guess. Of course, the women took third overall. Our men won the Pop Crowell Invitational on the team side of things. Zach Smith was our fastest runner, running 27:21 and finishing third in the men's race, I guess making it onto the podium, so to speak. What stood out to you from the men's race, and what came down to a tiebreaker for the win?
Yeah, it was a course PR for Zach. I think it's the fastest he's ran on our course. I mean, a couple people I wanted to highlight there on the men's side was, Seth Morgan had another. He's in great shape. We had him on the podcast the last time we did this, and he's made some great strides, pun intended, I guess, to come back in shape this year. And he had another over a minute PR for his lifetime 8K best. And then, seeing Jack Whittlesley and Wesley, like they battle each other in practice every day. And so to see them kind of battle it there at the end, and they had another great finish as well. I was proud of those guys. I mean, it's always nice to see when the hard work and practice translates into a race, and you can see that actually, in how they finish there.
Overall, for the men's side of things, it was a pretty neat race, as we had, I would say, about 7 teams. But by the looks of it, like when it started and when we got into the trails and going through the first mile, the first 2 miles, it was awesome because you saw 2 packs that were healthy packs of men just like controlling the race. And it was really neat to be able to experience the guys controlling a race and just like clearly having 2 big packs that are the second pack and the third pack in the race overall. So, and then the way they were controlled and they moved throughout the race, when things get really tough, especially on that 3rd to 4th mile, that is a nasty mile on our course. And seeing them come out of it pretty unscathed and just able to lock it in for that last mile up to the finish was very fun. And I enjoyed that, and it was a great process there.
Well, you got me thinking as you were talking. Rachel, you've won this race 3 times. You've won a lot of races on our course, and I'm curious for you, because our course it's a unique course. I don't know, would you say, Cordon? I think it kind of throws a lot at you. What do you think a racer has to be good at on a course like ours to be as successful as you've been?
I don't know. I feel like something that I struggle with on the course is that it's easy to just zone out because our woods slows you down a little bit just because there's a lot of roots in there, and the lighting's always a little weird. So you're more focused on the terrain than you are actually thinking about racing hard, I think, a little bit there, unless you like are conscious of that before. And as well as like we call it, I think, Sleepy Hollow or whatever,
Yeah.
the like wood section coming out of the main woods and back onto the main path. That like is somewhere that if you're by yourself, like it just feels like you're on a regular run, I think. And that's usually where I wanna capitalize next time on it, because I think it's a strong section, and like the type of running that I do is really good in there, but I always seem to like be by myself in that part, and so I fall asleep a little bit. So I think just like staying in the zone is important on our course, I think.
You're talking out there by Round Pond.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, there's just some great, beautiful views out there. I just totally see how you could kind of just cruise back there. But that's a great time to push, like you said. Coming out of that tactical area, and then when it gets flat again, ready to push again.
Well, while we have a few minutes left, I suppose we can look ahead to this upcoming weekend, the Codfish Bowl at Franklin Park.
Yeah.
And it's now a short week of rest, I suppose, because with the meet getting pushed to Sunday, we only have 6 days now to turn around and get ready to go to this meet here. So, Coach, how does that change how you approach practice this week? And I guess for Rachel as well, how does that change your approach to training throughout this week?
Well, I'll throw that to Cordon. Cordon's, he's been great.
Sure,
just
go
making
ahead.
adjustments. And
I
stuff.
mean, overall, having to juggle a couple days around, you gotta just find the value in what's gonna affect us the most and what's gonna be the most important, and then you play around with how to make that effective the best. So, really, comes pretty simple, I feel. It's not the biggest, hardest decision to juggle a 6-day week instead of a 7-day week. Yeah, you might lose something, but you can gain it in a different way. So that's how I look at it, and it's just going to make us honestly show up on the recovery side of things. If they do that correctly and they put in their time there, I feel it shouldn't affect them too much. For the men, 8K back-to-back, that'll be a nice tough challenge, and then you've got to be ready for that battle. And same with the women though, 6K to 5K, both pretty hard courses. It's just a matter of what kind of lifestyle you want to live and what kind of amount of work are you willing to put in. And then if you do the right things there, you'll be able to make it happen. And I definitely really look forward to this race and seeing a course that we'll see again in the future on a bigger day.
Rachel, let me ask you this, because I know when I came from high school to run college, I was expecting the 5K to 8K transition to feel a lot bigger than I actually felt like it was once I first started getting into it. Going from a 6K to a 5K throughout the season, does that change how you approach the race at all, or do you really not even notice that once you get out there running on the course?
Yeah, I don't think I really change anything for the most part, just because I know my body can hang in there for at least, like if it's the most, it's going to be 4 minutes. So I think like I trust my body that it can do that, so I just handle it the same way. I like a 5K a little bit more just because like I have more experience knowing like what time is better, I guess. So it's easier to like know if I did well or not, but they're both good. I'm more distant, so 6K I guess maybe might be better, but it doesn't really matter that much.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I don't have much to add. I mean, like I said, I'm proud of how we pivoted this past week, so I'm confident that the whole group, men and women, can kind of keep nice even keel as we go into the next week. I mean, when we put this on our calendar, as Coach Louco alluded to, you got to think about it. We're going from our course. We're hosting Commonwealth Coast Championships at the end of October, and it'll be on the course we just ran at. And then we're going to run regionals right after that later on in November, and that's the course we're going into here. So this back-to-back, I know it's going to be a lot shorter because we'll have 2 weeks in between later on in the year. It'll be good to go from this course to our course to this next course, just to prepare our athletes to know that transition from course to course. And honestly, when we put this on our schedule, we weren't expecting it to be, this big competitive meet, but we're looking at the scheduled teams, and it's looking like it's going to be a really solid race with some great teams, and it'll challenge our athletes kind of almost in a really good way for this time of year, for what we need to, like I said, to prepare ourselves to run our best race when it matters.
Awesome.
Right on.
All right, well, that's going to do it for another episode. Thank you all for listening. I believe, keep your fingers crossed, we're back on Spotify.
That's right, man.
And we're now on
Pumped about
YouTube
that.
as well. So
That's it.
wherever you're listening, thank you so much, and we will see you next week to recap the Codfish Bowl.
That's it.